Welcome to the Prepped and Polished podcast, the podcast that empowers you to take control of your education, featuring weekly interviews with influencers in the world of education, as well as tutoring tips, lessons, and updates. And now, here's your host, Alexis Avila.
And welcome back to the Prepped and Polished podcast. This is episode 156. Alexis Avila here, your host. Make sure to join our Prepped and Polished community. You can find us on SoundCloud, Facebook, and Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. Just type Prepped and Polished and you'll find us. Go to preppedandpolished.com for more info, and there you can sign up for our free ACT essay course or get in on our newsletter, which comes out monthly. Have a question or reaction during or after the podcast? Submit your question to radio@preppedandpolished.com. Today on episode 156, I'm speaking to Jordan Schanda, founder of ScholarPrep, a company that helps students set goals, track their progress, and organize all the information they need for college and scholarship applications. ScholarPrep was created by Jordan and her mother, Christina, based on their personal experiences with the college and scholarship application process. This mother-daughter team developed ScholarPrep after Jordan's successful yet overwhelming and stressful experiences applying for colleges and scholarships. On today's episode, Jordan talks about how students can stay organized and better on top of their college admissions process. So let's get right to our guest. This is episode number 156 with Jordan Schanda. Jordan, thanks for coming on the Prepped and Polished podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. So can you start off by talking a little bit about your background and how you eventually became founder of ScholarPrep?
Yeah, happy to. So when I was in high school, I was kind of your typical, academically inclined, self-motivated student. And so I actually kind of enjoyed the college application process and searching for scholarships and doing all of that. But I had a younger brother who was not that same type of student. And so after I went through that application process with my mom, we decided to put together kind of an outline of what I had done to be successful through that, because we knew he was going to have some struggles that were unique to, him being more involved in sports and not really putting a lot of, effort and really significance on kind of the academic side of things. He's a super smart kid, but he would rather be on the baseball field. So we were worried about what that process would look like for him. And, during that same time, my mom was serving on some local scholarship boards. So she was seeing things from the other side, seeing scholarships go unawarded because not a single student applied. And so we just kind of had this unique perspective on the whole college and scholarship application process and did not intend to start a business. We really only intended to put together this binder for my little brother. But my mom, being the mom that she is, was very proud of what we had done. And she started showing parents around town. And they were like, well, how do I get one? Can you make me one? I didn't know any of this. So we just started getting so much feedback from people about, them not having the information and wanting the information. So we decided, well, maybe this should be an actual product and an actual business. So that's really where we started.
That's incredible. So my guess is that your brother is his favorite person.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure he gets tired of me nagging at him and trying to get him to do things.
Definitely. So now if we go to your website, scholarprep.org, what will we find there?
So you will find kind of just some basic information about what we do and our ScholarPrep organizer, which is a very refined version of that initial binder that we put together. Okay. And so we talk a lot about, what you can expect by using our organizer, which is really kind of, it's a tracking system It's more of a system than anything else. It's not really a book you have to read. So we explain that. And then we also have a blog where we provide lots of information on kind of all topics related to college prep.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So just thinking about your own personal journey in the college admissions process, if you were to like kind of wrap some things, your experience up into a few words, what will come to your mind?
About my personal experience with the process?
Yeah.
Stressful,
Okay.
overwhelming, and I would describe it as kind of, you're under a time crunch.
Wow. Okay.
So that's how the process was for me, even though, even though I did kind of enjoy it, just because I'm that kind of person.
Yeah. You thrived in that with the pressure.
Right. And I was just very competitive. So I wanted to win as many scholarships as I possibly could, even though I kind of felt like I was disadvantaged a little bit just because I didn't learn about how to prepare for the process and kind of had to figure all of that out the hard way.
Wow. And when do you recommend students begin with the college admissions process?
We recommend they start as soon as they graduate eighth grade. Anything they do the day after they graduate eighth grade can be included on their college or scholarship applications. So ideally, they would be sitting down, student, parent, kind of as a family to have at least some initial conversations about what the students want, what the parents expect, what's realistic, and can start really making that plan.
Wow. Now, what if you're like kind of a little bit more like your brother, eighth grader, kind of not really sure? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so we work a lot. I would actually say we work more with parents than we do students because we really see them as the vehicle to help the student. Mm-hmm. So, parents, they want to do everything that they can to help their child be successful in whatever, however that looks for that student. And we found that the parents just don't know what to do. So what we've tried to do with our organizer is really give them a roadmap and a place to start, and then they can use that almost as kind of like a step-by-step process to help their students. So like with my brother, he did not, he wasn't super engaged in the process early on. Right. It was my mom saying, come sit down. We're going to go through your organizer. Do you have anything you can write down? Have you written any essays for your classes in the last month? Things like that. And most of the time he would just say no, but she would keep digging. And he's like, oh, well, I did write that one assignment about, a person in history. Okay, go get it. Let's save it. So just kind of digging some of that information out of them early on.
Wow. And what are some of the things you see students doing wrong when it comes to handling the college process, preparing for college?
A couple things. I think, the biggest obstacle is just that starting late. And so we have seniors coming to us all the time and parents of seniors coming to us saying, what can we do? And I hate when I get those calls because I wish I could do more for them. But there's at that point, we can't go back and help build their resume. We can't go back and do a lot of the things that they need. And so starting early is really the most important thing you can do to avoid those missed opportunities and a lot of that regret that we see seniors going through. But I think also, even if you are thinking about college and as a freshman, I want to go to this school, we find that most students have never seen an application until they sit down to fill one out, which is too late to have a full understanding of what's going to be expected of you and what the process is like. And so we try to work with our families and say, go look at an application, go search for some scholarships and see what the process is like, and get comfortable with that.
Wow, that's a really good point. So in addition to starting early, what are a few of your best tips for staying organized on top of the college admissions process?
Okay. For staying organized specifically, and this is something we also have an online course that's made for parents and students to really go through together. And it's kind of like a crash course on the application process, but also how to create impressive applications, because we find that this is a kind of another mistake students make is they think, oh, I have to be involved in everything. So they're involved in all of these activities, but they're not really developing their interest and pursuing depth in any one area. So they're just totally spread thin, and that's not what makes an impressive application. So that's another thing we try to do in our course is help them identify, what are their specific interests and unique qualities and what are the things that excite them that they can then delve into. And maybe they only end up having one interest, but if they have developed their leadership and their community involvement and their extracurriculars all around this one interest, then that will be much more impressive. And so a lot of what we do also in that course is try to help them get their organizational system set up. So I think this is what you were getting at.
Yeah.
And that looks different for every family. So some students really cling to a paper planner. Other students and people like me, you could not get me to use a paper planner. I just have too many kind of moving parts, and I keep everything digitally as far as my calendar goes, and I need the reminder to ding and tell me in 15 minutes you need to go do this.
Sure. And
that's just kind of how I operate. And so we help them figure that out. What is the best system for you? Is it all, physical paper planners? Is it, filing folders and it's more of that tactile piece, or is it more digital? And, obviously it's a continuum. So sometimes it's there in between. And so I guess my biggest tip would be first for them to figure that out and to sit down as a family, whoever's going to be involved in the college planning process, to make sure everyone's on the same page about what works best for each person.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I have one more tip on that. This is my favorite tip, is having some kind of catch-all device, because, we get busy. Parents especially are busy and students are busy. And so I find that it's very helpful to have like a file folder or, something on your desk where you can just put things and then go back and file them later. Because that's a lot of what we are encouraging families to do, is keep track of all of these documents, the certificates, letters of recommendation. All of these things need to be organized for application time. But, it's hard to keep up on that. So having a catch-all device that you can then go back and sort and organize later, I found has been very helpful.
Yeah, these are great. Now, the calendar that you use, which calendar do you recommend for like an online calendar?
I actually use Outlook just because of my job. I work full-time at a university, and so we use Outlook as kind of our, system at the school. And so then I can integrate my business calendar also with Outlook so that I have everything in one place. So that has worked well for me, but that's not going to be the case for everyone. Google Calendar is a good option. And then I sync everything to my phone. So I really live by my iCalendar, really.
Oh, perfect. Okay. What's the best way to get in touch with you? Work with you, get our hands on an organizer, those kinds of things.
Best way is just to go to our website, ScholarPrep.org, and there is a tab on there where you can order an organizer, and our online course is linked on there as well. But anyone can get in touch with me by emailing me at info@scholarprep.org. I respond to every email. I try to tell people that. Don't be afraid to reach out to me if you have questions. Just shoot me an email. Our phone number's on there as well. And then a great thing for parents that we just started at the end of last year is we now have a private Facebook group. It's kind of like a support group for parents. And so that's a great place too. It's called Scholar Preppers.
Oh, that's amazing. I love those. That's
Yeah.
when you really get good information.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of support, a lot of trading of do this, don't do this. So it's been really great.
And your binder, I don't have a physical copy in front of me, but by the looks of it, it looks amazing because it has like compartments where you can put papers in.
Yeah, it has pocket folders
Nice.
in the majority of the sections, so that's really helpful when you're keeping, hard copies of test scores or those letters of recommendation. With that in particular, we always tell students, have them write extra copies because there's going to be some applications that you may need to send in last minute and have an application, you may need to send in a letter of recommendation and not have time to ask. But if you have had an extra copy printed and signed for you, you may be able to just send that in with it.
My last question is, just any advice for teens listening to you today who are getting ready to cross that bridge from teenage to young adulthood?
I think my best advice is to start thinking early about what interests you, because we have found that, that can be the really difficult part of this process.
Definitely.
Everything else, there's checklists and step-by-step processes that you can follow, and parents can really help kind of with like the nitty-gritty, putting together application materials and helping make sure you're organized. But the student is the one that really needs to be thinking about, what do I want to do? What do I want to do after high school, after college? What is fun for me? What do I enjoy? What's unique about me? Those are questions that students really have to answer themselves. And definitely they can ask other people, what do you think I'm good at? Things like that to kind of help get them thinking. But that's the big thing they need to be doing and really trying to discover early on.
That's great advice. Well, Jordan, thanks for coming on the Prepped and Polished podcast, and we really appreciate your time and hope you can come back at another time.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me.
And this wraps up our show today. This was episode 156 with Jordan Schanda of ScholarPrep. Check out Jordan's company at scholarprep.org. Episode 157 is coming soon, our next tutoring tips episode. And for another related conversation, make sure to rewind and check our podcast, episode number 126, with Jessica Yeager on crafting your best college application. And to access episode 126 with Jessica Yeager, today's episode 156 with Jordan, as well as all of our podcast episodes, head over to preppedandpolished.com/podcast, or you can head over to soundcloud.com/preppedandpolished. Thank you for joining us on the Prepped and Polished podcast. Now go out there and take control of your education.
You've been listening to the Prepped and Polished podcast. For more information, check out preppedandpolished.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening. Class dismissed.